SciByte is produced by JupiterBroadcasting.com, independent entertainment that's on demand. Check us out. Hi, everyone, and welcome to SciByte, Jupiter Broadcasting's weekly science podcast. This is episode 42, and we stream this one live on April 17th for release on April 18th, 2012. My name is Chris, and joining us like every single week is our host, Heather. Hey there, Heather.
Hello there, Chris.
Hey, happy science to you.
Happy science.
What do we have coming up in this week's episode of SciByte?
Today, we're going to take a look at how the Bering Strait affects the world climate, dinosaur eggs, exo-planetary systems, a possible Alzheimer's test, light pollution, viewer feedback, and as always, take a peek back into history and up in the sky this week.
All right. Always my favorite part. And of course, also, I feel slightly celebratory because it's episode 42 of the show.
Yes.
So I know we got a little crowd in studio today. They wanted to stop in and congratulate us. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, everybody. So it's kind of neat to have a little in-person group, but I'm excited. We got a big show, and of course, you know me, I always love the week ahead too. That's like one of my favorite parts of the whole dang show. So all right, well, I don't really have much I wanted to cover in the top of the show, though I do want to give out our email address before we roll out, and that is SciByte@JupiterBroadcasting.com. Send us your science questions, your science corrections, or your science ponderings. Those are always interesting ones too, something that maybe has just struck you. SciByte@JupiterBroadcasting.com. All right, Heather, are you ready for the news?
I'm ready.
What is the first story on the news?
We're going to take a look at the Bering Straits. It's the location between Alaska and Siberia. There's that little gap of water. So there have been debates on, long-time temperature swings. Whether it's solar activity or various unstable climate processes or man, but even before man, how the climate has switched, how we had ice ages. And there's actually new evidence and simulations that say the presence of a land bridge there or an absence of a land bridge could actually significantly change the Earth's climate temperature.
Really?
Yeah. They've taken core ice samples from Greenland that show temperatures there varied as much as 10 degrees C in just a few years apart during the last ice age. The temperatures swing pretty decently, and they kind of theorized that maybe a disturbance in the ocean's flow would cause that kind of a large temperature swing. So they, scientists think about something, so then, of course, they create a big computer simulation to test out their ideas.
Right.
Because, when you get an idea off the top of your head, you want to co-create a simulation to test it. Everyone does that.
And also a good grant helps.
Yeah, that does tend to help. Just a little.
But I don't mind. I'm sure they led to something kind of interesting. Yeah.
So they looked at the start of the last ice age, about 100,000 years ago, when the Earth's climate was a little bit unstable. And after 20,000 years, the ice sheets in Eurasia and North America had more of the Earth's oceans. They were, a lot of the Earth's oceans were stuck in those giant ice sheets. So with that, the sea levels dropped about 160 feet. Because that much of the water was in those ice sheets. So when the ocean receded that much, it exposed that broad strip of land that between modern-day Alaska and Siberia. So then there was a land, that strip of land, so that the flow of water could not go between the two areas. And when that happened, then the freshwater melt-off from the glaciers couldn't flow down there. So it would back up and would flow back into the North Atlantic. And when that happens, the simulations show that the ocean currents would actually stop that. And if they did, the surface temperatures, then they start dropping.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's because if you introduce cold,
a bunch of cold water, yeah.
Well, it's not only that. It's fresh water is less dense than salt water.
Salt water, okay.
So it can't. Normally, the cold water would come in and it would drop down to the bottom of the ocean, and it would help churn the ocean's currents and get them moving in a specific way. But without that happening, it would flow backwards, and this cold, fresh water would sit on top of the colder salt water.
Huh.
And it would stop the churning and the flow. And they actually took core samples from Greenland that, they dug down into the ice sheets. And it actually shows it connects up with the simulations pretty well. So that, they could go back and say, here's when the Bering Strait was closed. Temperatures dropped by, the same magnitude that the simulations predicted. And so it's kind of interesting that, it's kind of connectatory that, the oceans, currents, and just that much. I mean, it's 2/3 of the surface of the Earth.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so that's going to affect the land temperature. Huh. So, it's just these currents and just the fact that if you can stop them by backing up the fresh water and inserting it into a place that the cold water is not, used to being, and it's cold fresh water, so it really messes up the entire flow. And the simulations actually show that afterwards, it generally took less than 400 years to recuperate. Should the Bering Strait be open?
No kidding.
And when it closed, it took as long as 1,400 years.
Wow. Quite.
Yeah.
That's quite the difference.
Yeah, so it took a lot longer to be able to restabilize the oceans and what they were doing. So it was kind of interesting. I saw that and I was like, wow, just, there are so many things that can affect the temperature of the Earth that even, one strip of land right there is going to...
Right, that's what's so kind of almost in a way disturbing, because it seems so fragile.
Yeah. Well, there are so many things that affect the Earth's temperatures. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things going on that keep everything stable or, in a certain way. And there are natural swings as to what the Earth is doing. We've seen Ice Age and come out of Ice Age and back into Ice Age. There are certain cyclical things that are going on. And there's all these things. And there is also evidence that solar activity might have something to do with it. And so the Bering Strait, and there are just so many things that can affect it that I didn't really realize that the Bering Strait would affect it this much.
Sure. Yeah. Because it seems like it's so removed in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kind of makes me wonder what else is out there in our ecosystem that if it was just a small little bump and all of a sudden things went in a certain direction, what would happen? What would be the impact? And we wouldn't even know until it already was too late.
Yeah. Well, we really can't mess up the ocean's flow. It's needed for so many things.
Yeah.
And it's about maintaining that system.
Couple of additional reading links that Heather put in the show notes for this one. They show some pretty awesome pictures. If you're listening to the audio version of this, I was kind of browsing through some of them while Heather was talking about them, and you see it. Actually, you can just visualize it. It's just once you really look at it and you have the context of the story, it almost seems like in some ways like that makes so much sense. So some good stuff there, some good follow-up stuff if people are interested in that, Heather. All right, well, any other thoughts on that story?
No, I think that's about it.
Well, then let's take a quick, brief pause. We'll just take just a moment so everybody can take a breath and clear their science mind. This is like when you're trying different things, different types of chocolate, and then every now and then you need to have a little coffee or coffee bean to clear your palate. That's what this moment is. This is letting your brain prepare for more science absorption. And I want to tell you about the affiliate links over at JupiterBroadcasting.com. Because if you scroll all the way down to the very bottom of our wonderful site, you will find links down there for Amazon US, UK, Newegg, ThinkGeek, Best Buy, Mint.com, and Audible.com, which I really like. Yeah. And any of these, if you click on them before you shop at one of those sites, clicking on that will tag your session and give Jupiter Broadcasting credit for your shopping session and a portion of the revenue from that shopping session. And there's also a Chrome extension over there. You grab that Chrome extension, and then it automatically does it whenever you're visiting any one of those sites, and you don't even have to worry about it. You don't have to worry about the links. We've also got a Firefox extension that is in beta testing right now, thanks to Rekai for both of the extensions. Yeah. So when you click on those links, it's a way to, well, you're getting yourself something to give Jupiter Broadcasting something, and that really does help. It helps sponsor all of the shows that don't have a regular sponsor. We also have the monthly donation links over on the front page. And thank you to everybody, and I really mean everybody who does that from... I don't know who. All these things are anonymous, but somebody bought a very, very, very amazing engagement ring through our Amazon affiliate link.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They paid for our day that day when they did that. That was really awesome. So, and congratulations to them. Maybe they are viewers of the show. I don't know who they are, but I think that's really cool. Anyways, Heather. It's time for the SciByte Newsbite, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What is our first story in the Newsbite?
Oh, dinosaurs. We've talked to them about them off and on quite a bit.
Who, SciByte? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Things come in waves, and the dinosaurs continue going. So I'm going to attempt to say this because some of these Latin words are kind of interesting. Alvarez Sorindae family of dinosaurs.
Wow.
Small, bird-like, long-legged running dinosaurs, stubby little arms, large claw. Last survivors of the southern land mass in the Mesozoic area, which some people may have heard of. It's in the journal, in one of the recent journals, they reported that a 70 million year old pocket of fossilized bones and some eggs near the hind limb have been found. It's about an 8.5-foot specimen, one of the largest of this group of dinosaurs found. And it was the first time that eggs were found so close to this type of dinosaur. And it's pretty cool. I mean, the egg fragments themselves show an abundance of resorption of calcite in the inner layers, which is kind of leads people, scientists to believe that they had incubated long enough. They probably had late stage embryos in them. So these were
no way.
These were little eggs that were getting close to being able to hatch.
They need to crack those things open and go Jurassic Park on those things.
Well, when they looked at the scans from an electron scanning microscope, they actually saw in little canals of the eggshells the first evidence of fungal contamination of a dinosaur egg.
Oh, really? So they were fighting, of course, that makes sense. They were all kinds of natural predators they were fighting.
Yeah, and fungus.
So they might not have made it. Maybe they were were going to be doomed eggs anyways.
Yeah.
Huh. But so the photos also show these things look like birds. They don't look like dinosaurs to me. They look like really mean...
emus.
Yeah.
Or like, dinosaur emu crossbreed.
Yeah.
And the eggs were found, like, the way the hindquarters were articulated and the eggs were found, they weren't quite sure at first whether they were inside the bird or a dinosaur, whether they had been laid or not yet.
Oh. Wow.
So either that or it was sitting on the nest. Then because of the late stage cells.
Yeah, okay.
And then when they looked at the shells, because it was late stage in the process of being cracked and hatched, then they thought, well, it must have been sitting on the nest, most likely, when whatever happened to fossilize them. And they went together to be squashed, and now we see it.
Yeah.
And what was cool was when they looked at the eggshells, the microstructure of the shells themselves didn't match any known category of eggshells. It's a whole new egg family. So, it's the first eggs found near this type of dinosaur. There's, first evidence of fungal contamination, a whole new type of egg family. So it's really interesting, this one little pocket of dinosaurs sitting on nest
all kinds of new things for them to go all kinds of science all over. I mean, wow. And like I always say, it means there could be other ones we've never seen before.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're continually finding new fossilized evidence, or, the recent mammoth that we talked about. There's continually new things that we're finding out, and that goes to even exoplanets. We find things every once in a while that refines our ideas of what's going on in the universe.
Right. Well, and what's going on with dinosaurs?
Yes.
Right.
Well, dinosaurs include the universe.
That's true. They are one of the same. Any other thoughts on that story?
No, I think it was just interesting to see all that information.
Absolutely. All right. Well, things are moving right along here on the SciByte program, and I think it's time we talk about some busy solar systems. What do we have here?
Yes. Solar system first seen in 2010, about 130 light years away. They were studying the wobble of the star, and they were able to discover, planets around this star. And from the wobble, you can tell the orbit and the size of a planet. So at first, they did their analysis on it, and they thought it consisted of 5 planets.
Right.
And they thought maybe 2 more existed. Further studies increased the count to 6, 5 about the mass of Neptune, 1 a little bit closer, the mass of Saturn.
I think I know where this is going.
Yes. Further going back and studying even older observations and using a different statistical analysis technique. One astronomer used old data to find evidence that 3 additional planets on top of the 6 already accounted for probably existed. At a total of 9 planets, it's the most populated solar system because Pluto got kicked out of got moved down to the minor leagues.
We are going to need a sound jingle for every time scientists find more data in the data. And they discover something more by going over previous discoveries. And it's just incredible. I mean, we've this almost on a weekly basis, we talk about something that they discovered by going back over the same data and looking at in some other way.
Yeah, well, in astronomy, there's so much data going on. Hubble is always making observations. All these telescopes are making a great deal of observations. And you may be looking at this specific star, but maybe there's another star nearby that, you're still getting the same information from. And so somebody can go in and look at that star and the data about what that star is saying, and pull out that information. Or maybe you're looking at this star over a short period of time saying, what is its fluctuations in the X-ray spectrum? And somebody could take that and go back and take, somebody else's data from a year and a half ago that they were looking at something different. And you could, look at the wobble of this star and take put it through your analysis and plug all this other information together. It's not like there's just one set of data in any specific observation. You're not going to get everything about a star because certain telescopes will get a certain amount of data. But there is sometimes where you can pull out another bit of information, or you can patch together different observations about a star to get this sort of stuff. And the new planets that he thinks there are, these 3 new potential planets, they're not confirmed yet. They'd be much smaller. The others were talking Neptune or Saturn size. These little ones are, 1.3, 1.9, about 5 times the size of the Earth. So they're much, on a much smaller scale, very close to the star. All 3 could fit inside the orbit of Mercury.
Huh.
Their orbits are, less than 70 days long, 2 of them less than 10.
Whoa.
So they're whipping around the star incredibly fast. They're really super close. So, they may be on the Earth size scale, but at that close,
that's nothing's living there that's not toasty.
Yeah. Not that we could understand. Water in life that we can understand now is not going to be happy there. Not at all.
No. Well, maybe they're just, they're more like places to visit, not places you want to live. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, very interesting. I for one, love it when they do that because it's also getting more out of the original investment. when you go out and find more stuff. But any other thoughts on that story?
No, it's just the analysis of these says that the new statistical analysis says that if they are there, they would all they have stable orbits. So it would be long term. So the next set of data could look for those again and maybe pull out that data to see if it continues to follow the analysis.
Huh. That makes me think it's time for the 2-Byte News. 2 Newsbite. Byte News 2?
2-Byte News.
Biting news twice, right?
Yes.
Okay, I got it. Okay, so what is our first story in the 2 News Bite?
We have an Alzheimer's test that has been approved by the FDA here in the United States.
So they can test for it. This is like a conclusive, like the blood screening test that they have approved.
Not conclusive. We've talked about these amyloid plaques that, congregate in the brain that sort of, they're showing more and more that it's the cause, and you're trying to figure out how you can clear them out or how you can measure how much there are to kind of see what the progress of it is. So the FDA has now approved a radioactive compound for evaluating people who are, they're determining whether they have Alzheimer's.
Wow.
It would be able, it attached to those plaques, and it would allow doctors to see how much of that has built up in the brain.
So it's specifically designed to have radioactive particles attached to things that are all over your brain.
There are a lot of these type of things. I've had these things done to my brain before. They inject little things, and not for this specific item, but it goes in there and it attaches to something in the brain, and it lets them see stuff.
No, I know they use it all the time. It just sounds crazy to me.
Yeah, it's if you have to go in and have that done the first time, you're like, You're like looking at your hand where they're gonna inject whatever it is.
Right.
And you're like, oh no.
Am I gonna glow?
Yeah, you're gonna glow in the dark very soon.
So this seems positive, though. So are there indications that this is viable?
Yes, there's going to be false negatives and false positives. A negative test does significantly reduce the likelihood that it is Alzheimer's. Now, some doctors are kind of afraid that it's going to be overused, that just anybody and everybody's going to be using this test. And it's any test like this. I mean, it's safe, but you don't want to just do it on everybody. If it's unnecessary testing, is unnecessary.
Yeah, right.
But, and there's no standards for this test. So they're going to have to kind of iron that out to say, who needs the test? At what level do we say it's more likely to have Alzheimer's? Or at what point do you rule that out and look for a different reason why someone might be exhibiting the same symptoms?
Mm-hmm.
So it's one of those that, if they've had these, we've talked about other little tests that can show the smell, because you've seen a sense of smell decreases at the very early stages because these plaques build up on the, on your sense of smell centers of your brain.
Yeah.
So it's possible that this could just be another way or another step towards being able to
combined with a set of symptoms.
Yeah, be able to gather a set of tests that, put you in this kind of a category. And maybe once we have those labeled and we're kind of seeing more and more possibly how to clear these things out of the brain so we can see what stage are you at, who is most likely to have it, and maybe, is it worth it to start some medication? If you reach a certain level, just start some medication on someone. If it's not, there's no side effect. Yeah, try to get ahead of it. Try to see early stages. How quickly can you do it? What does it harm if it's not that? So it's kind of interesting. It's another one of the things that are all coming together. There's a lot of things in this last year even that I've been seeing that have been coming together, trying to narrow down what causes it, how you can test for it, what you can do to alleviate the symptoms.
Yeah, it does feel like we're building closer and closer and closer.
Yes.
Not quite there yet, though.
Yeah, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. You're not quite sure if it's just bouncing off a curve in the tunnel, but something's down there that's not a pitch black
Right.
black hole.
Something is down there. And for those of us who've had family members affected by it, we watch it closely and hope that something significant happens.
Yes.
All right. Should we talk about light pollution? Because I don't even know if I know what that is.
Yes. I have been studying this for a long time because I am into astronomy. So light pollution is when it's defined as any adverse effect of artificial lightning that creates sky glow. If you're near a large city, you can kind of see the glow in the sky over the city.
I don't get a good view at all because of light pollution.
Yeah, being near Denver, it's a little bit harder. You can travel away from a big city and get it a lot better. You can decrease that light. Now, a lot of that is, if there's just a light out there that's just shining up, then that's wasted light. If you can have a cover on it to point all the light down, if you have to have a light on the side of your house, half the light is going up into the sky. That's not really where you need it.
It's wasteful.
There's not a lot of ninjas climbing over your roof to get into your house.
What, do people think light just grows on trees?
I guess so.
Oh, well then.
But it's more than that. If you focus it down on the ground, then you can use a lower wattage. Because instead of, half the light going up into the sky, you can narrow it back down to the ground, kind of double what it is. And you can maybe use a lower wattage. There's different kinds of light bulbs that allow you to use less power, and it sort of decreases that. Think car lots. They're shining 10,000, suns towards the cars and towards the highway.
This kind of grinds your gears, doesn't it?
Yeah, just a little. I'm going to try to stay focused, though. So there's a new initiative that says, let's raise awareness about this. Let's test the impact of this. Let's use citizens to, use naked eye observations. So all you have to do is go out, go to the website, print off certain star charts. It'll show you, look here or here or here, a couple of different constellations, and you look up in the sky, and generally it's, these 3 bright stars. Count the number of stars you see in the middle. Or, what does the sky look like to you? How many more stars are there? And so from that, they can kind of guess how light the sky is from this light pollution.
Oh, okay. Okay, so they're not asking people to turn off their lights. Because I was going to say, the problem is probably most of them are commercial installations that are really the biggest offenders.
Well, yeah. So, there's 2 parts. There's one, raise the awareness, say, let's take a measurement of this. And they're kind of doing it over time so they can see how it's changing over time. So you can say, this is this person's location. This is how many stars they can see. This is somebody nearby that grew up, they measured it 2 years ago. It says, so then they can measure how much more of this is and how many less stars can be seen. So it's interesting. I've done these kind of, like I said, I've done these kind of projects before over the years. So, it's hoped that if you could do this, there are various options even for commercial lighting that can say, decrease this. Some of them cost less even. So it gives people options to say, hey, look, see, this is happening. If you, change to this kind of a system, it's not going to cost any more. Some systems even cost less. And it would let people see more stars. So
totally. I would love that.
Yes.
Now, before we go on too much further, we actually have some feedback coming up. Plus, we have the week ahead in the sky. Plus, we got to go back in time. But first, I want to remind everybody, just a really quick plug. I know I've mentioned it already a couple of times. It's my pick for this month, actually, is Star Wars Heir to the Empire, the 20th Anniversary Edition, the Thrawn trilogy. Thrawn? Yeah?
Yes.
How'd I do? I'm on chapter 16 right now, Heather.
Uh-huh.
And let's see, I don't know how actually far that means I am, but oh man. Oh my gosh. Yeah. This book exceeded all my expectations. I was expecting to be completely lost, and I know I even as not the big Star Wars enthusiast that I am totally at home in this book, and it has been a complete thrill. There's just a great space battle that just happened. It was a ton of fun to listen to. Link in the show notes. Here's the deal. If you're new to Audible, use that link in the show notes, and guess what? You get the book for free. It's that easy, and if you cancel your Audible account, you get to keep the book. And hey, you get to keep the book. That's not a bad deal. And it's 13 hours and 10 minutes worth of great entertainment. It is an awesome book, you guys.
Yes.
So go check it out, audible.com, and use the link in the show notes. You got to use that link in order for us to get credit and for you to get the book for free. Oh, I got a little flashing button here on the SciByte console here. Let me. Looks like we got ourselves a little feedback, don't we, Heather? What do we got?
We do. Draylock from the chat room asked if there was any way to build and launch your old satellite. He spoke about, being able to, maybe a ground-based, citizen-based, internet system or passing information. How to get around specific, laws and regulations of various countries. I do not suggest you try to actually launch your own satellite.
Well, what if we did like a Jupiter Broadcasting Sat, JB-Sat, and it was just a live stream of all of our shows, and that way all people would need to watch our shows would be a huge freaking dish.
Yeah. Now, launching your own satellite might make a few countries angry.
Oh.
So,
we'll talk to the Russians.
Yeah. Alternatively, there are things called CubeSats.
Okay, tell me about these.
And these are a type of small satellite, less than a liter of volume, about a little less than 4-inch size cube, weighs less than 3 pounds.
Huh.
It's a program started back in 1999.
Oh.
It was supposed to help universities across the globe, perform space science. What it is you a certain amount of these little cubes are attached to another launch vehicle. And when it goes up and it releases its big satellite, then a couple of these little ones can go out and then go into orbit. So kind of, piggyback up into space on something else.
Interesting. Okay. So it's like you're buying space on a bigger satellite. You're renting real estate in a sense.
Yeah, you're renting a little apartment building.
Yeah. What can I do with something like this?
Well, like I said, it's mainly for universities. They're trying to do, allow them to do space science, take measurements of various things going on.
Measurements and stuff, sure.
Yeah. And there'll be, little solar cells on the side of these things you'll see. Now, actually, some companies and amateur radio satellites have been built so that it can use up a lot of power but send down radio waves.
Amateur radio. Okay, now we're talking. See, that's now something we can work with here.
Yeah. So it is theoretical that as technology improves and as, things become more efficient, then you could I
could probably fit like 3 Raspberry Pi computers in that thing.
Yeah.
I could, yeah.
Yeah. So as the efficiency of solar panels increase, you can put some nice little solar power panels on there that maybe give you more power, have a couple of, it could run Linux and have those in there and maybe have something transmitting down to Earth. And so there's a possibility as these increase of what you could do with these little things.
It's an interesting thing. Now, are you familiar with another device called the Apple G4 Cube?
I don't think so.
All right, so I don't know if you have the stream here, but the Apple G4 Cube was an entire computer that was about the same size as these cubes that are going in the satellite. And it was, it was a full-fledged machine, and they kind of share the same sort of aspect ratios and size and stuff. But you could kind of see how you could really cram a lot of technology into something that size.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Of course, that Apple machine was probably more expensive than actually one of these little satellites where it was known for being horribly overpriced. No, so actually that's why they discontinued it. But interesting. Well, that was a really great feedback. And so I want to say thank you for sending your email to SciByte at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Anything else?
No, you can also go over to the website and fill out the form on the website to send in your feedback. And feel free to, if we have totally messed up the science, or if I have, and you know what you're talking about, go ahead and send it in. Give me a give me a link to something that will tell me what I've done wrong, and I will correct it on the show.
That's part of what we do. All right, Heather. Well, stop looking at that stream. Get over here and get in the time machine because it's time to go back. All right, go. All right. Close the door. Close the door. I did. All right, every week we go back and look at what happened in this week in science. And so our first destination in the science time machine takes us to April 20th, 1964, 48 years ago. What happened, Heather?
The picture phone.
The picture phone?
Yes. In 1964, the first picture phone transcontinental call was made between New York City and Anaheim, California.
Like a video call, like Skype video.
Yes, a telephone handset with a small matching TV. You could kind of see the other person in a really fuzzy, bad video image.
That's quaint.
Carried on the conversation. And
do you know technically how they transmitted the video? Do you know if it was done over the phone line?
I believe so, possibly.
Huh.
I'm not entirely sure that I would go on record. At the World's Fair in 1964, they were about $16 to $27 for a 3-minute call.
I remember hearing about it. I remember hearing about this actually now at the World Fair. I remember hearing that they debuted that. And, well, there you go, 1964. Wow. Yep. Did they ever make it into a product?
They had some products, but it never became popular enough. So it just kind of briefly commercially available in Chicago and never really made it.
Well, and now basically everyone with a smartphone, which is not Heather, it has that built into their cell phone. It's pretty crazy.
Or you can be on your computer.
That's true.
Skype.
That's true. Which you do that, as this show is proof of. All right. Well, our next destination takes us to 50 years ago, April 21st, 1962. What happened?
The Revolving Restaurant.
Love it.
Yep. Seattle World Fair in 1962. 74 acres of World's Fair, and it was open. President Kennedy opened it by remote control in Palm Beach, Florida, and in it was the Space Needle, 600-foot tall steel and glass tower, and on the top of it was the restaurant, the Revolving Restaurant.
Yeah.
At the time, it was the tallest building west of the Mississippi River.
I didn't know that part. I should, since I live in Seattle. I took my wife here for her. I've been here probably a dozen times. I had a family member who worked there, and I took Angela there, my wife, for her 21st birthday a long time ago, because she's old now.
Oh, she is not.
I can just say that because I know she's not listening. Anyways, it's legit. It spins, and what's really cool is the windowsills don't spin. So the floor does, but the middle doesn't, and that's where the kitchen is and all the wait staff is. So they don't spin, but the patrons booths do. And what's great is because the windowsills don't, you can put people do. I wouldn't do this, but people put sugar packets on there, and they start getting a collection, and then eventually one side of the restaurant typically will tear them up. I mean, there's it's just fun things you can do because it just goes around and around and around, and you get a great view of all of Seattle while you do it.
Yep, 500 feet tall. Yeah, like you're saying, it's just a 14-foot ring in the middle of this that actually spins. 260 seats. It goes a whole, one trip around the restaurant takes about an hour.
I also attended a Star Trek, I can't remember, 30th anniversary, whatever it was, 20th, and I met a lot of Star Trek stars that were attending the dinner at the Space Needle there, out on the going out and looking at there. So it was very cool. It was very high tech Space Needle, Star Trek stars, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's a great restaurant. The food's okay. It's all right.
Yeah,
it's okay.
One thing that I did find interesting: all driven by a 1 horsepower motor.
Yeah. That is a really interesting point.
I saw that. I was like, wow.
So 1 horsepower.
Yep.
That really tells you
one
something.
horse tromping around there.
Very, very slowly. It's all about the.
Yes.
They have a whole thing on how it all works. But I do believe I need to realign the SciByte computers. So you know what? I do have to realign them. I wasn't kidding either, because we have to look up into the sky.
That's right.
What do we have?
You may have seen this last week on the news, or you may see it soon, but on the northeast limb of the sun, The magnetic fields erupted, producing one of the most visually spectacular explosions in the last few years. Coronal mass ejection. We've heard about them every once in a while.
Yeah.
They happen fairly regularly, but I don't bring them up all the time. But this is a pretty visually spectacular one. Just seeing it is, it's really...
It looks amazing. Like a tornado. It looks like, or you know what it looks like is a bunch of colors circling down the drain.
Yeah, that one. It's showing the explosion away from the sun and how it hits the various things. It's not directed to the Earth, but it will hit Stereo B, one of the two satellites looking at the sun, that gives us the 360-degree view of the sun. It'll also hit Spitzer Space Telescope, looking at ultraviolet ranges of stars. And the Curiosity rover, headed to Mars, will actually get hit by it as well.
Oh, that's okay, though. It's prepared, right?
It'll be okay.
It's built it's built to last.
Yes, built to last. Okay. We know these kind of things will come. We want to have these particularly radiation protected.
We have a spectacular... Is this... Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Of course. Oh, man. Now, what a great time for the sun to be this crazy active now that we have such a great view of all of the shenanigans. It's Wow. Oh, wow. That's an incredible image. You guys have to go over to the show notes and check that one out if you're not watching the visually enhanced version of SciByte. That's a shot. That is a shot. I have never seen anything that looks like that.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. What else do we have coming up?
Well, coming up this Thursday, April the 19th, we're going to see 4 planets up in the sky arcing throughout the night, just starting a little after twilight. Venus and Jupiter off in the west. Venus a little bit higher. Mars will be in the southeast, along with Saturn, who's going to climb over towards the east. On Saturday, it'll be the new moon, so that's when the moon is completely dark. You're not seeing any of it lit. And one of the weaker meteor showers is going to happen. The Lyrid meteor shower. But because it's new moon, it'll have a pretty decent visibility.
Okay.
Just before dawn on Sunday. It's only going to get to about maybe a dozen meteors in an hour. But it's another one, and it has the best chance of actually being even vaguely visible because it's new moon.
Oh, okay.
And also on Sunday...
Because of light pollution, or the lack of, thanks to the new moon, right?
Yes. The moon offers light pollution to the Earth.
Yes. I wish the moon would be more polite, and maybe the moon should become more aware of some of the things people are trying to get put together. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. We've got Jupiter low in the west at about sunset on Sunday. And we've been able to see Jupiter for a little while. It's sort of getting lower and lower in the sky. So it's starting, we won't be able to see it for very well for a little while, pretty soon.
It was good seeing you, little buddy. Don't go yet. Don't go just yet. You got to warn me before it's gone.
Yeah, as I was saying, it's getting towards that way.
No, I got another week or so, right?
Yeah, you got a little while yet to go.
Okay. Bye, little buddy.
Yeah.
We call him Tiny around here.
We call him Tiny.
Yeah.
We're Tiny.
Thanks for hanging out with us for a while, Tiny. See you later.
Yeah. Have a good rest. Oh, and our southern hemisphere viewers should keep an eye out for near the thin crescent moon on April the 19th. Just to the east of it, before sunrise, look above and to the right, and you'll be able to see Mercury.
Oh, okay. Mercury's stepping up.
Yep.
There you go. Well, of course, everything that we talked about is available in the SciByte show notes over at jupiterbroadcasting.com. Just look for episode 42. You can remember it's 42 because it was the one that somewhere in here, there was the answer to life and the universe.
And everything.
But you have to kind of decode it for yourself, and you may or may not have to play it in reverse. I'm just saying. Well, Heather, great show.
Great show.
And, of course, everyone is free to join us over at jblive.tv on Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific and star in our chat room. That's when we do SciByte Live. Or download it on Wednesday mornings and get any format you like. All right, everyone. Well, thanks for listening to this week's episode of SciByte, and we'll see you right back here next week.